What's up, everyone? I'm Coach D. So first of all, I want to thank you guys for supporting my page as we are growing. We're growing fast, and I really do appreciate you guys. So one of the things that frustrates me about today's MAGAs, Republicans, and Donald Trump is that they like to pretend that people in this country just started struggling when Joe Biden became president. People in this country have been struggling forever. We've always had the uber rich, the middle class, and poor people. Democrats have always been concerned with poor people. We've always talked about raising the federal minimum wage. We've always talked about better working conditions. We've always talked about trying to lift the poor up to the middle class. Somehow Republicans are pretending that people weren't struggling since the beginning of this country. They have. You see, Republicans are trying to win an election right now. So they want to get out there and they want to make people believe that they're only struggling because Joe Biden is president. I mean, Donald Trump was president for 4 years and they're out here pretending like there were no poor people. No one was struggling when he was president. I was having a conversation with a guy the other day. He had commented on something that I posted on my Instagram story. Kind of a Republican Trumper type of guy, right? I was telling him because he had said something about people being on welfare and, it's a crutch and all that. And I said, listen, the problem with welfare is that most of the people who are on welfare work 30 to 60 hours a week for a company that isn't paying them a fair and livable wage. If these companies were paying these people fair and livable wages, they wouldn't need to be on welfare. You see, he had this idea that people on welfare are just sitting around playing video games all day, when the actual evidence shows that people who are on welfare, most people on welfare, actually work full-time jobs for companies that don't pay them enough. So then he says something like, oh yeah, well, they definitely need a little livable wage because of all this inflation that we have. That was his kind of a dig towards Joe Biden, right? So I had to explain to him, people have been struggling in this country before we had inflation. People were struggling during the Trump administration, during the Obama administration, during the Clintons, during the Bushes. People have been struggling in this country forever. Again, Republicans are trying to win an election, so they're pretending that people just started struggling and they're the answer to all those problems. So Donald Trump is at this rally, and he's talking about a woman shopping for apples. And believe me, this story is completely made up. And it shows not only that Donald Trump makes up stories, but that he has no idea how people shop for groceries because he's never had to do that. So this fabricated story that he tells about a woman shopping for apples also shows you that he's pretending that people just started struggling in this country when Joe Biden became president.
Sort of elderly woman who said, goes up to the counter, register, puts 3 apples on, and then realizes she can't afford it. And she took 1 apple, brought it back into the refrigeration, came back, and she took 2 apples. That shouldn't be happening in this country.
So this woman, who Donald Trump absolutely made up, is poor and on a fixed income. So much so that she goes to a store and all she can buy are 3 apples. She goes over, again, on a fixed income, doesn't check the price of an apple, which is like $1 to $1.50. So you would think someone who's on a fixed income who has about $6 in their pocket would check the price of those apples before grabbing them. But she doesn't. She grabs the apples, goes over to the checkout stand, puts them down, and then realizes, I can't afford 3 apples. So she takes 1 and walks back over to the refrigeration, whatever that is, and puts that apple back. We're not talking about 3 bags of apples. We're talking about 3 singular apples. Who shops like that? Again, Donald Trump has never gone shopping before. This story makes no sense. This made-up person makes no sense. And Donald Trump says that shouldn't be happening in this country. It's been happening. It was happening when you were president of the United States as well. As a matter of fact, there are people in this country who can't afford any apples. And it's been that way. This didn't just start when Joe Biden became president. And again, this is why Democrats have always tried to address problems in the poor community. This is why we've always tried to raise the minimum wage, get people better jobs, give people student loan debt relief. These are the things that Democrats have always done. Donald Trump doesn't give you solutions to this lady's problems. He doesn't. He just says that shouldn't be happening in this country because he wants to create the facade that he's going to do something about it. Donald Trump didn't care about poor people before he became president. He didn't care about poor people when he was president. And he's not going to give a damn about poor people if we vote him in again. He doesn't care. Donald Trump does not care about you. He does not care about me. Donald Trump is running for president so that he can stay out of prison. Donald Trump is running for president so that he can acquire as much power and money as he can. He's pretending people just became poor in the last 3.5 years. He's pretending there were no poor people when he was president. He's pretending he's going to do anything for those people. When Donald Trump talks about tax cuts, he never says specifically, I'm going to give tax cuts to poor people. No, but when he didn't think anyone was paying attention, he was at Mar-a-Lago telling rich people, hey, rich people, I'm going to give you guys a bunch of tax cuts. People have been poor in this country forever. People have been struggling in this country forever. And the only people trying to do something for them are Democrats. Not Donald Trump, not the Republican Party, not MAGAs, just Democrats, progressives, and liberals. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in their heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.